The Miami Dolphins, the only franchise to claim a perfect season way back when, hasn't seen much perfection from its team for many decades. However, this team today has one of the most entertaining rosters to look at in this series. With arguably the best receiving core in all of football, this roster screams fantasy needs. So without further ado, here we go. How is everyone doing? My name is Aaron and this is the Gameday Hour. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Team Review. In this series, we take a look at each and every 32 NFL franchises and see what they offer for fantasy football. Here we analyze a team's quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1 and 2, tight end, and kicker. Our goal is to analyze last season and see if these players are worth drafting, and if so, when and where. Today, we analyze the Miami Dolphins.
Tua Tagovailoa, Miami Dolphins quarterback.
Great talent with a big asterisk next to his name, unlike Lamar Jackson with an injury history, is Tua, because I think his injury history is worse. However, I never thought very highly of his skills, just the weapon he has right next to him. And that's also part of the reason why his stats are so big and why he's such a fantasy threat. So this is what his stats say. He played 13 games last year. He had 259 completions, which was tied for 19th, and 400 attempts, that's 18th. And he was 64.8%, that was 20th. He had 3,548 passing yards in that time, which is 12th, 25 touchdowns, which is tied for 8th, and had only 8 interceptions, which is 91st, and one of the better interception margins we've seen so far. That left him with 272 total fantasy points, which is 14th. So, and again, we're going with PPR. The thing is I don't know if it's Tua's skills or his weapons that give him these type of stats, but notice 13 games played, and that plays a big role with our projections. Is he somebody I would draft? Yes, and I have drafted him last year. Didn't keep him on the team, but I did draft him. To me, he is a very low quarterback 1 and a very high quarterback 2, despite him being middle of the round rankings at 15th, and I see him in rounds 4 through 9. And even though I don't put it on here, he is an injury warning. Last season, he had three concussions, 2 in which came 4 days apart from each other, which is just poor on the medical staff, but that might be a big problem for Tua going forward. The reason why I would not pick Tua is because of injury, but he is somebody I would probably draft as a backup. I would not want to have him as a reliable 1. Not yet, at least.
Raheem Mostert, Miami Dolphins running back.
The former 49er is now a Dolphin, and it's going to be going into year 2. But the running back position at Miami is questionable because backup Wilson and the potential of grabbing Dalvin Cook could move Raheem Mostert out of the number 1 spot. For now, he is number 1. So because of that, we're going to take a look at his stats and maybe in a misfit video, if that video comes in the future. Not guaranteeing it. Maybe we'll look at the stats later for Dalvin or Wilson, who knows. But let's take a look at his stats for now. He played 16 games. He had 181 carries for 891 rushing yards, which was 21st. 3 touchdowns, that's tied for 35th. Then he has 31 receptions along with 202 receiving yards and 2 additional touchdowns. That's pretty good, but nothing that screams number 1. He has 158 total fantasy points, which is 25th. And to me, I really wish Mostert stayed with San Francisco. Actually, kind of not, now that San Francisco has McCaffrey. But I wish that his position wasn't always being contested with another running back, because Mostert's very fast, and I think he is a legitimate number 1 on a team by himself. But because of the team he's on, he is a draft pick, yes, but I have him more as a running back. But I'm having him more as a running back 3 or 4 in rounds 8 through 12, and he's ranked 28th among other running backs. So my last thoughts on Mostert is, if he stays as the number 1 for this team, I would see him getting roughly the same stats, but I would not see him moving up in the running back position. But if somebody were to take over, like a Dalvin Cook if he joins the team, or if Wilson gets the same amount of touches, then He's almost unranked. So I'd be very careful when it comes to taking Raheem Mostert.
Tyreek Hill. Miami Dolphins wide receiver 1.
Now is the type of position I'm looking forward to. The Miami Dolphins receiving corps, starting with Tyreek Hill. Hill is a speed demon, and he is one of the best deep threats in all of football. Originally, he was with Kansas City, won a Super Bowl there. Now he's with Miami in his second year. And his first season with Miami is why I say Tua is a high draft pick. It's not because of Tua, it's because of this guy. So let's see. He had 119 receptions in 17 games played, which is second. He has 1,710 receiving yards. At one point, people said he was going to break 2,000, and he still could break 2,000. He had 7 touchdowns, which was tied for 15th, and 338 total fantasy points. That is second best in all of football. So he is a powerhouse wide receiver that you most definitely need on your team. As a matter of fact, he is somebody I would draft. He is a wide receiver 1, the first 2 rounds, but most likely going out in the first round, more than likely. He's ranked second among all wide receivers, and he is completely and highly recommended. The one time I ever won fantasy, I had him alongside Stephon Diggs and Deontay Johnson as my best receiving core. That was in 2020 when he was with Kansas City. If I had him last season, there would have been a lot of fun for me. That's for sure. So, if you're going for a wide receiver in the first round and Justin Jefferson isn't there, this is the next guy up. I wouldn't put any other wide receiver over him aside from Justin Jefferson. So, keep in mind, Tyreek Hill will get you a lot of fantasy points. That is something you're going to really need.
Jalen Waddle. Miami Dolphins wide receiver 2.
So it's very rarely that I will call a wide receiver 2 on a depth chart a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. But last season, that's exactly what Jalen Waddle was. So I really just want to jump into these stats just to kind of show you what I mean. So he played 17 games, and despite being 27th or tied for 27th in 75 receptions, he had 1,356 receiving yards. That's 7th. He had 8 touchdowns. That's tied for 11th, and 249 total fantasy points, which was 8th among all wide receivers. So the Dolphins are the only team in football to have 2 wide receivers in the top 10 in fantasy. And this is the main reason why Tua was that lethal. Because of this, I have Waddle as a yes, I would draft. And I actually did draft him last year and made a poor trade, thinking that Deebo Samuel was going to light up the year, which he ended up not. But yeah, you live and you learn. He's a wide receiver 1 to 2 in rounds 2 through 5. So he's a low 1, a high 2. I have him ranked 9th among all wide receivers. If Tua can stay healthy the entire season, I imagine that he will be able to have more passing yards and touchdowns to both these guys. These two might actually do better this season than they did last season. Only time will tell.
Durham Smythe. Miami Dolphins tight end.
Now let's kind of take a step back here because Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Miami last season, moved on to New England. And now a new guy takes over. That would be Durham Smythe. And it's really hard to tell what type of wide receiver he's going to be because last season he was, last in comparison to Mike Gesicki. So let's see. Last season he played 16 games, and in those 16 games he had 15 receptions. And in those 16 games he had 15 receptions, and he had less receptions than he did games played. He had 129 receiving yards, only 1 touchdown, and that accumulated 35 total fantasy points, which was 54th among all tight ends. Not all players, not all wide receivers, it's all tight ends. That is an extremely low ranking. And because of that, he's not even ranked. I would not draft him. And if you think he is going, I really am going to have a tough time seeing someone want to draft this guy. Not because I don't think he's a good or a bad player, but because look at the receivers that Tua already has. There's not going to be a need for a security blanket. So if you do, he's a tight end to the last possible round, but he is most likely a free agency pickup or a free agency bench warmer. So I wouldn't really bother trying to pick up this guy. If you think he's going to do better, then watch him in free agency. I would not waste a draft pick on him.
Jason Sanders, Miami Dolphins kicker.
One of the more older tenured players for the Miami Dolphins is their kicker Jason Sanders, who last season I don't believe had a pretty bad year, but like with all kickers, I've complained about certain stats. I still complain with these stats, however, not as harshly. He was 26 for 32 made and attempted, which is 81.3%, that's 30th, not great. He was 93.2% extra point percentage, that's also 30th, not great. His long wasn't even that great, it was 55, which is tied for 21st, but he had 119 points, which was tied for 11th. That accumulated 123 total fantasy points, which was 18th. Now, I believe he's going to have more chances to get more points next season, because if you are managing to keep a fully healthy season, you're going to get into field goal range a lot with an offense like this. Because of that, he is somebody I would draft as a kicker 2 in rounds 14 through 16, and I have him ranked 17th among all kickers. So a lot of the kickers you want to see on this list are on teams that you know have high potent offenses. Now, I would hope that his percentage both for field goals and extra points does go up, because that is well needed, and he needs a longer field goal. But other than that, he is somebody I would draft as a backup kicker. And that'll do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you do, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Next up is the Bills video. I try to get this done in a week because of that Texas Rangers, Los Angeles Angels video. I want to be able to get these videos out before the season starts. So roughly the last, preseason week is when I have the last of the videos done. So this Sunday will be the Buffalo Bills video, and then we'll start with the NFC East next. But before I get those videos out, I will be doing an NBA Finals recap video that I hope you guys are looking forward to. The one NBA video I did had over 100 views, which was amazing. So we're going to continue to do better on those things. But I, again, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you're looking forward to the next batch of videos soon to come. And that's it. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.